I wanted to give like tremendous thank yous to two guests in a row, or actually recurring cast member, I would say for Jen for sure. I should say guest, recurring cast member. And
She's a guest now. She doesn't show up at all. She hates me.
I
I
mean, right?
try. I
But like
try.
we
Me?
promised, we promised, that, we were not going to keep you guys for the whole thing. And I love that Kevin has the Leave the World Behind, teed up because I mean, I think that's kind of like the topic of the hour, but just wanted to, just acknowledge that for listener
Yeah.
land.
Jen's gonna have to stay for a couple extra minutes. If she's
Oh,
gonna
that's
put up the
right.
Wonka
Wonka.
picture, she's
I
gonna have to
know.
talk about Wonka.
Hello.
So
Sorry I barged in late.
it's all right. You only barged in on me babbling about nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Which is
Hello.
most
I'm
episodes, to be
happy to
fair.
have another lady on here.
Yeah. Cal High connection too. So Salony meet Jen. Jen meet Salony.
Hi, Jen. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
I
So
like
Yeah.
the backdrop of the Willy Wonka. That
Yeah,
was
thank you.
on my list.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, in an effort to not waste anybody's time, we can just jump right in. Everybody has watched Leave the World Behind. And I watched it, I think, 2 days ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, something like that. And I feel like I pushed everybody to watch it. Everybody was kind of not going to watch it. And when you look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores, it looked like maybe it was skippable, right? This is one of the few movies that that has a really high critic score and a really low audience score. And I tend to side with the audience on Rotten Tomatoes more than the critics in most cases. So I was really worried when I watched it, but I didn't actually read any reviews. So I went in and I watched it, and I liked it pretty well. So, and it sounded like everybody at least tolerated it. It's an interesting movie. It's a deeper movie than than the superficial. So the gist of it is, before we jump in, you've got a family of four. There's a son, a daughter, mom, and a dad, getting out of the city, and they go to what amounts to an Airbnb. Something funky happens, and some dude shows up at the door, played by Mahershala Ali, knocks on the door, says, "Hey, this is my house. I would like to stay here now, even though you're here, because the world's gone a little weird." And then madness ensues. And then we have an obviously very happy ending. So that's the very basics of it, but there's a whole lot of underlying tension and racial tension and parental children tension and sibling tension and marital tension and name the tension, we got it. So yeah, I mean, we can kind of just go around the horn. I mean, just first impressions, what did you guys think? We can start with the guestiest guest and have Saloni start.
Well, first impression, I definitely felt like it was suspenseful. Like it kept me tuned in, and I wanted to know what was going to happen next. And so I think it did that very well. The acting was phenomenal. Yeah, I think for the most part, I kept feeling like, okay, there's going to be an explanation at any point around the corner. And there are parts of it that I really enjoyed, but it left me with a whole lot of questions.
All right. Jenny, what you got?
I mean, I could not figure out what everybody's problem was with it. I thought it was great. I mean, it was suspenseful, and I know that Andrew kind of said it had like Knock at the Cabin vibes, which I felt like it did too.
A little bit.
But I liked that it didn't have kind of like the grossness of that, the more horror side of things. But I love just like a suspenseful movie where we don't really know what's going on, and we don't know where it's going to take us. but I still have questions. It was still strange in areas like with the animals and the flamingos but I don't know. I thought it was filmed really well. I thought the cinematography was really beautiful. I don't know, just like the angles that they had things on at, and I just really felt intrigued by it and captured by it. And I the whole time I was watching, I could not understand what everybody was complaining about. I mean, I really maybe we're just such professionals now that, we just love it.
We are high caliber people.
Yes.
we drink glass with a one finger up or something like that. No, I think for me, like, I loved how atmospheric it was. I mean, I definitely felt sucked in, and there's no way, like, it's kind of funny, it's kind of meta, like how the daughter was like, I need to know how Friends ends, right? For me, I was like, I need to know how this movie ends. There is no way, if you want to really annoy me, start that movie and then like make it unavailable. I'll be so pissed off. Like, what the hell was going on? It was very, like, I called it a for pervading sense of dread. Like, it was just like, what is happening? Like, this is bad, like whatever's happening. And I think once like the roads were clogged and the Teslas were piling up, I was like, this isn't good. So overall, I love the movie because it was haunting. It makes me think. Like, whenever my inclination is to go online and research about the film and what was trying to say, that's what I go for. I love to think and to just have my brain spin because of what I just saw. And I also just liked the acting. I think that, when you have such a small cast, but then every single cast member, even Kylo Ren brother, like the whole time I'm like, that's young Kylo Ren in my head. But anyway, I'm being random. Like, I was, every single character like was compelling in some way. I didn't feel ambivalent about anyone, even Kevin Bacon. So yeah, I was a fan, and I won't necessarily side eye anyone who didn't like it. But I certainly, it would cause that cognitive dissonance. So something's got to go up or down. So if you didn't like it, I mean, I still love you, but I might like you just a little bit. No, anyways, that's me.
Questions. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think that the tension was solid. I can see where maybe people thought it wasn't fast paced enough. It was definitely a slow burn. Like, there was questions and answers, questions and questions, and it moved along. But what I really liked, like you guys said, was the acting and the character work. I think each character was almost their own, like, character type. Julia Roberts was very much the Karen of the group, right? Like, she's doesn't like anybody, and then you've got not Kevin Bacon, Ethan Hawke, who is like the ultra nice guy. Like, everything's cool. Like, dude shows up, he's like, this is my house, and he's like, cool. She's like, do you not want proof? And he's like, it's cool. So, like, everybody kind of plays their parts, and Mahershala Ali is like the stoic, level-headed, I know a little bit more than everybody else does. The daughter is, questions everything. She's the closest thing you have to two characters that are the same are her and Julia Roberts' character. They both kind of look at the world through a very angry lens, and probably for different reasons, obviously. But yeah, I thought the character work was really great. Like Jess said, the only real thing that I question, and I've been trying to read up on it a little bit, was the animals, was the deer and those, and I think it was maybe a little heavy-handed metaphor. But otherwise pretty good. I thought the last shot was perfect. Like, I see a lot of people that like one of the critiques from people that didn't like it was they didn't like the ending, and I was like, then you just don't get it. Like, that's all I can say. I thought the ending was kind of perfect. So yeah, that's my take on the general bit there.
I want to jump in for a second. I love what you said about the similar lens between the mom and the daughter, because even the daughter, after the mom says something about people, she goes, that's where our Venn diagram like,
Yep.
I completely agree with everything you just said, but we're still very different people. So I just thought it was cool that you said that. So
Yeah, I forgot about that moment, but that was a good one. So
I mean, I
all
can
right.
understand how people may not have liked the ending, because I mean, I've been left with movies sometimes like that where you wanted a little bit more explained to you, but I don't know. I felt like even though we didn't really get all the answers here, like you had enough. And so you kind of could think for yourself and figure out what was probably going to be happening. So
Yeah, I mean, looking at the ending, I don't see how you can end it in a way or any other way. Like you can't really finish their story unless something really tragic happens at
right,
this
you want to
point,
get
because
super.
the world is so jacked. It's not like they're gonna find this bunker and lock themselves in the bunker and then somebody's gonna be like, the news is gonna come on, they'll be like, we were just kidding, everything's cool. Like it's not a happy world. Like the whole point of this whole thing was that the world is going to shit. And there's no other way you can end it. You can't, they just can't end up happy. I mean, the family themselves, if they all move into that little bunker and it's got everything, which it's kind of implied that they will, they can be as happy as a family can be in that bunker, right? And you can kind of leave that to the imagination. But I mean, they're not going to be walking around outside. They saw, it was in New York City, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it was blowing up. It was legit airstrikes. So, it's kind of funny because it almost feels like, and I know it's not, but it almost feels like this is the prequel to that Civil War movie that's coming out, right? Like we've got um, we've got everything going sideways, and then you have the Civil War, which was the point of this, this attack, is that it's going to end in civil war. We're going to destroy ourselves, so nobody else has to. So like knowing the bigger picture, like I don't know, it feels semi-realistic to me, but it does also feel like story-wise that maybe things, for the sake of telling a story, moved faster than they probably would in real life. I don't know that a real attack like that would move overnight. Like the cyber part of it, I get that could happen pretty much instantly if people had themselves set up right. But the rest of it, the psychological warfare side of it, I feel like would take a little longer. But I don't know.
The only other thing I sort of questioned was GH, and then not have, like, his wife was missing. He didn't know what was going on with her. So I was like, you're a little too chill about that. Like, you're not worrying enough about your wife, So kind of when he did, when in the scene with Julia, when he kind of said what he felt was going on with her, I was like happy in a way, because I'm like, okay, you're acknowledging that your wife is, something tragic could have happened to her. So that was the only kind of complaint that I had about it. But I just thought, if that was really happening, I feel like we would have seen him a little bit more distressed.
Yeah, I think the only time we ever really, really see him distressed is when he finds the bodies at that other house. Otherwise, he's pretty cool the whole time.
I know, which kind of made me think that he was going to turn bad maybe at some point, because I was like, is this guy so chill because he's going to do something? But then, eventually we realized that was not the case. But I mean, I did love him.
Oh yeah, he's a great actor. I
He was
love him.
just, I was just trying to figure him out and figure everybody out, what the heck was going on.
I felt like his role, his character was the most unrelatable. His acting was phenomenal, but I couldn't relate to his character. Like to your point, Jen, like how calm he was amidst this crisis. And I did not like the fact that when Julia Roberts' character and her family take off, and then they try to leave, and then they come back after realizing that there's no escape. It didn't make sense to me that he would let them take his room and just take this very sort of to me, it felt very almost like a submissive role. And I think I just wanted him to take charge more and just feel like, fuck, the world's coming to an end. I have to protect my daughter. I have to figure out what we're going to do. Where are our allegiances? How are we going to align with this family? And then if they turn on us, what are we going to do? So to me, I felt like that would be more realistic. I felt like the way he portrayed his role and how he handled everything, it was too calm in a situation that was very crisis ridden, but maybe
Yeah,
that.
No, I agree.
I wonder if it would have benefited from there being, you know, kind of that chess match type scene where something goes sideways in the house and you realize that he's ready for anybody, like to the point where nobody knows that he's got a gun. He pulls a gun when something goes sideways and then calms everybody down. Just something that shows that he actually has control of the situation, even though he doesn't have to like walk around like a rooster and act like he's got control of the situation. But I don't know. You know, from the storytelling standpoint, yeah, he was certainly a character that was almost too complex. Like he knew everything that was going on, and he just didn't want to know that he knew that everything was going on, right? Like he had a pretty damn good idea, and why he wouldn't, once it went down, why he wouldn't tell his daughter, you know, pretty much point blank was another one that was interesting. Like why it seemed like he shared more with
Julia.
with her than with his own daughter. Granted, it seemed like their relationship was a little strained. Like she kept being kind of pissy with him. So, you know, they weren't in a perfect place, but I felt like that more didn't come out of history. That was more her being frustrated about her mom.
So one thing I'll say though, which is really cool, and I'm also really, really okay. So I'm gonna jump around a bit. I think partly the reason why the Rotten Tomatoes, I think I figured it out, is it is so bad. It's partly because of the ending, but it's also because of a line Ruth says in the movie about basically when basically shit goes down, the one group you don't want to trust is like especially white people, and apparently that has pissed off like a lot of people, and even all the people on the right are all like F Obama because like Obama was behind, you know, the
Yeah,
production. So
Michelle and
I think the film's getting a lot of undue like hate from that, you know, and I think it's in line with her character as the daughter because she does
Mhm.
seem more like on that kind of super left, like I hate to use the word woke, but like that side of things. So it would make sense. It's in line with her character.
Mhm.
But right now, what I'm really trying to figure out is was that line in the original book, or was this something that Ismail added to the script? I'm inclined to believe that it was added to the script, but I don't know for sure. That's number one. Going back though to Mahershala's character, though, I do think this is being me being very kind of open and honest here. I do think being a successful just black dude, being 100% real, is you have to learn to actually not overly assert yourself because the thing is, you are seen as a threat. So I think it's in the fact that he drives a really nice car, and even the fact that people would talk about Obama not being like way too forgiving for when people would throw rocks at him. And it's like, dude, like if you want to rise up in this country, you have to understand you don't have the same rules. So the fact that Mahershala is sleeping on the floor and he's like, I'm fine. She's like, no, no, come to the bed. He's always thinking about other people, but it got him pretty far in life, clearly, because he actually had the money to buy that house as a vacation house or whatever and have a place in the city. So I think that, when you have that much kind of complexity in your life to navigate the world, you do become a complex person. I was really surprised that he was willing to get into a gun standoff with this other, with what's his name, with Kevin Bacon, over a kid that what like to me, like I was trying to type him as a Myers-Briggs type, and I do think of him as someone who is always thinking about other people. But yeah, I don't know if as a character he is realistic because there were just too many contradictions. You play chess, you've got the gun, you know what's happening, but you're keeping everything from everyone, and then you're being selfless. Like, no, I think that most of the time you're going to be more one or the other and not altogether. So I do agree that he was probably the most unrelatable, but the accommodating part of his personality, I actually get because I know for a fact that, I felt and that I need to actually kind of reel in a bit just to make sure that people around me are comfortable, they're not threatened, and I can just move along with my life, if that makes sense.
It's funny you say that, because I just today watched the Barbie movie, and all of that makes me think of America Ferrera's speech for women, but it's the same like idea. Like, you want to be more, but to make everybody happy, you can't always act like more, like it's a complex
Right,
thing where it's it's not easy, right? Like, if everybody was just a white male, life would be so easy because we'd all have it, right? But that's the problem, is that everybody that's not, at least in America, is one step back on the chain and has to fight in a different way than everybody else does. And that the racial tension in the movie was there, but it wasn't like hardcore, right? Like, it wasn't like you're black and I hate you and you're white and I hate you, right? Like, it wasn't like that. It was just a lack of trust, and a lack of trust almost for no reason. I mean, if anybody was to not be trusted, at least at first, it was GH, right? Like, if some dude just shows up and he's like, "Hey, this is my house," you should probably ask for proof. Like, that's a
and
little
I've
weird.
conveniently lost my ID. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
That was a
Yes, that
little
was super shady.
that was a little weird.
yeah. Like, I was really waiting for the plot twist where he did not own the
Yes.
house. Like, I was legit waiting for that moment. But yeah, he didn't start off in a position of trust, like where everybody should trust him. And I think that's one of those things. I think him staying in the basement at first was a way to mitigate that for him, right? To say, you can trust me. It is my house, but I'll do, whatever I have to do to, to calm you guys down so we can work this out, right? Especially if it's 4-on-2, you don't know if the people that are staying in your house, even though they're on vacation, they could be crazies traveling with guns. Like, you don't know what they've got. You just don't know. So, I think ultimately he handled it well, but it was a bizarre situation, a situation that requires both trust and patience on both sides.
Yeah.
Those are great points. And to your earlier point, Andrew, I didn't even think of it from that perspective. So that was very eye-opening. And interestingly enough, when I was watching, I would say the first quarter of the movie, it felt like it was a movie about Julia Roberts' character. And like, she was the lead and everything was about her and her family. And even though it's Mahershala Ali's character's home, he and his daughter are like the backdrop of their own home. That really bothered me. As the movie progressed, I realized, like, wait, they're all in this together, but it really felt like, because of her personality, and maybe there is that underlying racial tone there of like, it's all about me and my world and my family and this. And like, of course, when her daughter goes missing, yes, that is a scary moment. I like the fact that Ruth, Mahershala Ali's daughter, says like to her that my mom is probably dead and you've never even talked about that or mentioned it. You haven't even asked me about anything. I'm like, you've just been so focused on you and your family. So yeah, it was, I think the subtlety was really well done. Like,
Yes.
it was all underlining there.
One thing I learned, like the Hunger Games book before it, or not before it, but anyways, this book was written in 2020, which I think was really cool. So I definitely now want to read the book because there's a couple differences. One is I know that it's not GH and his daughter in the book, it's GH and his wife. So I want to understand why, like how that changes things. And then in the book, I know, is it cool if I talk about the ending in terms of the book, how it's different? Is it cool?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. In the book, it actually shows the daughter like going, like getting stuff from the pantry or like the bunker or whatever, and then going back to her family. So it's a bit more conclusive in terms of how it ends, you know? Um, I know like I know the director even talked about I don't want to insult the audience by giving them like a drawn out ending. I want them to think for themselves. So I thought that was really cool. The way I interpreted it, frankly, was they might two ways. One, they're all gonna die. But her whole thing was, I'm just gonna control my controllables and just watch this damn show and die happy. Like that's literally what I thought the daughter was doing, and I'm okay with that because I'd probably do the exact same thing. But the second thing is, yeah, maybe they all do end up at the house and then just kind of survive and make it work because the mom and Ruth like had their kind of moment where like she could have just pieced out after those deer showed up. Like, what were they gonna do? But like she was like, nah, F that. I'm gonna like, get in there and save her. I think that was a cool kind of bonding moment between the two of them. So there was a way forward. But yeah, totally want to read the book. 2020 was a weird year, I think, for all of us. And it may have impacted, the writer. Oh, one more thing. And I love the fact that with the exception of, but we're all the same age, I don't care. They basically, both the writer of the book and the director were born in 77. So we're all the same era. And then even musically, there was a Blackstreet song that wasn't even a hit, that was like prominently played by Julia Roberts' character. And then it was even in the background, like as part of the muzak of the grocery store. Weird. And then the second one was did it, the next two close. I was like, yo, so why? And now I understand that Sam Esmail was just like us back in 96, dancing in Next and Drew Hill and everything else. So thank you, Sam, if you're watching, which you're probably not. But anyway, that was my random rant of, I don't know, just love for the damn movie and show and book. All right, sorry, carry on.
Well, I mean, we started off saying we really liked it, but we did have actually still had critiques.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, we do.
there's certainly questions about it. And reading
Overall,
up,
it didn't deserve like the
Hey.
hate it was getting.
yeah, I think the deer. Just looking it up, I mean, really, it seems like it was mostly a metaphor. Like even Sam Esmail said that deer just inherently are innocent creatures. So for them to be coming out of the woods and kind of be grouping the way that they are, even because they're innocent, but the way that they're coming should have been or felt a little menacing, right? Because it's like the innocent part of the world is coming out of the woodwork because we're not going to be a threat anymore, right? Like, and so I think it's interesting. I think he's a creative guy and he's a deep guy. Like if you've watched Mr. Robot, he will take a show pretty far. Like he'll go pretty wild. And I think this show was up his alley. I think he seems to like the tech stuff a little bit. Obviously with Mr. Robot, and this one being, the cyber attacks and the things like that. But yeah, I mean, it was well made. And for me, the ending, like, yeah, she sat down and wanted to finish Friends, but I mean, she's going to watch one more episode of Friends. So like after that, of course she was going to go get her family. She didn't hate her family. She wasn't about to go close the vault door and be like, fuck them. I found food in all the TV shows ever. But what was funny to me is for some reason, I did not know that Friends was the movie, the show that she was talking about until like way into the movie. I don't know how I missed it. But when it finally came up, I was like, oh, okay. But I love that they actually showed like the DVD menu. Like it was like, it felt like authentic, the whole library they had and all that. So I thought that was pretty great. But yeah, it was just, for me, the ending was perfect because there was no way she wasn't going to go back to her family. Like she was going to go get her family, tell them, hey, we got the bunker. Now, were they going to take GH in with them and stay, you know, all as one big now 6-person happy family? Were they going to be like, dude, you got your own house, we got this house, good luck? You know, that's, you know, who knows, but you know, I feel like they probably would have accepted him in there.
Yeah, I think that there was, again, like GH risked his life for the son of the other family,
Mhm.
and that mom risked her life for the daughter of GH. So I think that in my head, the ties were created.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they should be good. They should be good. I'm looking at the time, so I just want to make sure that we're not keeping anyone not single US Salony, like, you know, longer than
No, I'm good. I guess I'll just add though, before you all want to move on to something else, that I enjoyed the ending. I really liked it. I like the fact that, you know, when I said earlier, the movie left me with a lot of questions. It wasn't so much about the ending. I actually love the fact that it ended the way it did, because it's meant to um, leave that open door for you to interpret and think through how the world, that particular world, is going to end up being. Is it going to come to an end? Is it going to, are they going to live in a bunker happily ever after or not? So I really enjoyed that part of it. I love the fact that Rose is living her best life in that moment, like eating all the junk food she possibly can find in the house, living in this amazing modern bunker, and watching the final episode of Friends. The questions for me were more around various things, like, for example, Ethan Hawke's character, when he saw the woman that spoke Spanish on the road, and he leaves her. I didn't understand why he never mentioned that to his family. Like, he kind of left that fact out, and it seems strange because everyone is in a state at that point trying to figure out what is going on with the world. I didn't understand why Mahershala Ali's character, when he saw the bodies that were broken into pieces, it seemed like maybe from an airplane crash or something, he didn't seem like he was surprised, but not, I guess for me, I felt like I wanted more emotion and more like, holy shit, there are bodies in the beach buried. And he didn't make a huge deal out of that. I don't think he even said anything right away. And maybe it was to protect his daughter. So I get that part of it.
the
But
mom.
yeah, I think there could be a huge component of that too. But it left me kind of feeling like that doesn't seem very realistic. I think if that were me, if I were Ethan Hawke, or if I were Mahershala Ali, I would be freaking out and want to share that with people. So those are the questions I had. But yeah,
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I gotta jump in. I love what you just did, because you spurred two thoughts in my head about character flaws. So I think that the reason why Ethan Hawke, in my opinion, didn't say anything is he thinks of himself as this really good person, right? But clearly he's not, because, you know, the fact of the matter is, when Ruth goes, "Have you ever slept with any of your students?" He never answers the question. He's just like, "I can't believe you asked me that," right? Skeleton, right? Then, you know, he sees this woman. He doesn't know Spanish yet. I read somewhere he's like a communications like professor or whatever. So you'd think that like your whole thing is communication, yet you can't understand this person, and you just like leave her. Like, he's the kind of person who's like kind of a bit of a fraud. He sneaks the cigarettes. Like, I know you smoke, right? But like, he sneaks it, even though he says I quit. So he's the kind of person who kind of has a front, but then has this other side to him. And even Ruth like calls him out. Yeah, you totally wanted, you know? So it's like, I think that's what that was about. As far as Mahershala goes, I think that ultimately the guy just had way too many secrets, you know? And I think that he knew from the jump what was happening. He just never thought it was really going to happen. And I think that's why, in my opinion, he wasn't so shocked, because he had some forewarning. And when he actually saw these things happening, he's like, well, damn, I guess it's a wrap. Maybe he'd already done the mourning of his wife, you know, like, but basically was like, I don't know. Maybe he's holding it together for his daughter. But anyway, what you just said just germinated all these thoughts in my head, and I had to get them out. So just thank you for that. I think that's a beauty of discussion. And hopefully other people will hear this and comment and give their own thoughts. I will say, though, really quick, that I did Google what she said, the Spanish woman, because I don't speak Spanish. And just for the benefit of the podcast, she said, "Thank God I found someone. I'm trying to get back to my home. I'm lost. I've been walking for a while. I need to use your phone. You're the first person I've seen all day. We have to get out of here. I just saw a plane that was spraying red gas in the vicinity. I saw some deer, more than 50. They were coming out of the woods. Please, I need to go home, sir. A military plane appeared and fled. There's no one around. Is it a chemical attack?" That's what she said.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think too, I think for him, I think part of it is the embarrassment of it too, right? Like, yes, he plays that good guy. And I think if she was speaking English or if he had been able to understand her, he probably would have helped her because that's who he is, right? Although he was becoming unhinged in that moment because he was starting to realize that he had no control over the situation. It's the same, it's what he says to Kevin Bacon at one point. He's like,
I don't know.
"I'm useless." Yeah, he's like, he's like, "I can't help anybody." He's like, "I can't do anything." And so I think not being able to communicate that with that woman just kind of flipped him over the edge. It's not because he had a problem with her in any way. I don't even think race necessarily played into that scene. I think it was communication that played into that scene. If he, like, she could have been the exact same person, but if she had spoken English, even broken English, he probably would have helped her. But he was becoming more and more confused by that situation that he just bailed because he couldn't handle the confusion on top of the other stress that he was having. And then when he didn't tell anybody, I think he was just embarrassed to be the bad person. Because if he told anybody that story, they'd be like, "Dude, you're a dick." And that's not his persona. Like I said, he's got a front. And that would go against that. So I think that is the issue at hand there for him, just as a guess. I mean, I haven't read anything on it, so I don't know for sure, but I would think that would be, his issue there.
The
I thought I
flamingos.
did remember. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No one
I
mentions
thought I did
flamingos.
remember. Sorry.
Go.
Go.
Okay, sorry. I thought I did remember him later on, like saying that he had felt bad, but I don't remember who it was. I swore
I think it was
he
Ruth.
said that he had left this lady and he had felt bad about it, but now
We
I
talked
can't
about her.
remember. So I might have been hallucinating. I don't know.
No,
I
he
think it was
did.
at the pool when
Like
they
he
were
kind of
smoking.
admitted it, but like down. Oh, more about that though, really fast is that I loved the part where they were smoking and then the flamingos came and then it was kind of like they're standing there like, "Flamingo?" I don't remember exactly what they said, but it's like, are we really seeing, is this really happening? I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so random.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay, now you go.
That was literally, we never really understood also what the flamingos, like, what was that all about? And maybe it was just like, they're fleeing whatever,
Yeah.
things are happening. But yeah, no, I think that, I think we've done a pretty good, job talking about the show or the movie. Yeah, I think none of us hated it. I think that we all thought it was at least decent and worthy of discussion and curiosity. Conspiracy theories. I mean, I would say one more thing. Like, I think that it definitely, fuels like conspiracy theory type thinking. And we don't have to turn this into an Alex Jones show, but yeah, like the whole idea of like sonic weapons and all that, like that stuff exists. I'm pretty sure it does, and that's crazy. And the idea of like the cheapest way to like win a war these days is just to like destabilize the country. And I mean, we saw what happened with the Russian bots during even our 2020 election. Like, it's kind of scary. I feel like this maybe the reason why the Obamas did this, don't track me, NSA, is like it's an inoculation. Like, we are going to try to inoculate our population by showing you guys this is what foreign actors can do. So please resist the temptation to play into their hands. The power of the media is it cannot be overstated. Whether you're talking about the FDA, whether you're talking about even slavery, like it was works of fiction or whatever is what created these things. So media is very powerful. So I think it's a good thing that this this book and this movie happened, because I think it gets us talking. And as long as we're talking and communicating and understanding each other, it's a better way to prevent us from turning on each other. And that's the end of my soapbox.
Yeah, and the thing to remember too is that realistically, like nothing in this movie is unrealistic. Like as far as what went down, like if people have already hacked Teslas, right? Like it's happened before, it'll happen again. They're not so amazingly secure that you can't get into them if you're good at this stuff. And so like the whole gist of this is that you're talking about whoever, I don't even think they really say who the bad guy is, right? But if you put the right group of bad actors together, bad hackers together, they can take down a power grid. They really can. Like in my work, I've worked with a few government agencies, and so something like a what's the right way to say it? A utilities agency, something that controls. Usually, what they do is their computers, their systems that actually directly control equipment and things like that are supposed to be on a segregated network. They're not supposed to be accessible to anything else. Like you have to be in that building, connected to a different network to get into that network, right? So they're supposed to be set up in a certain way that keeps them protected from the outside world. So if you say attacked an electric company or a water company or something like that, you could hurt the business side of it. You could hurt some other sides of it, but in theory, you shouldn't be able to just turn things off. Now, what we've seen is banks and other companies across the board, somebody screws up. There was a hack a couple of years ago where somebody way up at the top, some idiot, literally left his password as password. And people got into an entire banking system because this idiot didn't change his basic password. And he was like the tip top guy. Like, so human error is always going to be the issue. But the things that happen in the movie aren't outside the realm of possibility. They're not easy, but they're not outside the realm of possibility.
The casinos in Vegas, they hacked like all the casinos on the strip. Like
Yep.
this happened, and they then would ask for money, and I think Caesars paid, MGM didn't, and that's why MGM was fucked for a long time. Whereas Caesars, like they were up and running again.
Yep, and that's all about preparedness in and of itself, right? Like working in that field, back up your stuff all the time, because if you get hit by a ransomware attack, which is what we usually see, if somebody hacks your stuff, they're like, hey, I can unlock it for you, but you got to send me $1 million in Bitcoin, right? If you have a backup, you can be like, cool, I'll just restore from before you attacked me and I'm good to go. So and I've seen clients do that, and I've seen clients have to pay. I've had clients that have had to pay because the backups weren't right. So just on a personal note, if we're talking tech, back your shit up. If you can't afford to lose it, back it up. If you can't afford to lose it, don't worry about it.
I like the way you compute it. No diggity. Got to back it up. Sorry, I had to.
All right.
All right. So is that, yeah. Any last
I do have a question, because the scores are so skewed. Like out of 10, what would you give this movie?
I would give it a solid 8. I really liked it. Yeah, there were certain parts that I was like, oh, I don't know about that, but overall, yeah, solid 8.
Jen?
Yeah, I was thinking like in the 7-8 range.
Yeah, I'm
I
right
liked
around a
it.
7.5. I think right in between 7 and 8. Because it was good. Like I really like there are little issues that I had, and I think there are little issues probably that we all had in our own ways, but it was good. Like it was a solid film. So cool. All right, we'll put
What
that
about
one.
me? Shit.
You were nodding your head. I thought you agreed. She said 8, and you were like, yes.
Fair,
Oh.
but the listening audience didn't hear it. But yes, 8
True.
was the exact number that I had in my head. So
Cool.
sorry, go back.
So yeah, it's good, and like I said, it's really funny to me. It would really be disappointing if the whole reason that people didn't like it is because of one line where a character whose background we don't even know, right? Like, for all we know, she's been, oppressed her entire, young life. So she says she doesn't trust white people. Like, sorry, man, look around the world right now. I don't know that everybody trusts white people right now. It's a weird place. So I don't think her line was out of place. I don't think it was bad. And to be fair, like, the whole movie was about them learning to trust each other. So
That wasn't the
I don't-
complaints I was seeing, like from where I was seeing them. People were just saying it was boring, and I was like, okay, but I didn't. I mean, I could see how some people might think it's a little slower paced.
Yeah.
But everybody needs like a different level of excitement or more or less in what they watch. So I mean, I guess I could see that, but just the sheer amount of people I was seeing complaining about it, I was just a little bit shocked. It's usually a little bit more, mixed. So I'm glad you made us watch it.
Yeah, I'm glad everybody did, because I think it was worth it. I think it was worth the watch. And funny enough, I said this felt almost like a prequel to Civil War, sort of, in a way. But I think those are going to be two very different movies. I think Civil War is going to be a very action-packed, exciting movie, where this one was more people-centric drama. And I think that will also make for great cinema. I'm super stoked about that one. If you haven't watched the Civil War trailer, go watch that. That movie looks heavy as hell. So
I'm disturbed by it. I think it's a little. I'm just worried it's gonna like give people ideas personally. But that's just
well. The one thing that's unbelievable about it is they said that California, Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, you lost me there. There's no way. Having
Yeah.
lived in California, but all right. So we finished with that. So if anybody needs to jump off, Salony, feel free. It was awesome to have you. I love people that are smarter than me when they show up and have an opinion. So it always helps.
It was fun to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Definitely.
I'm going to now back up my laptop, build my bunker. So yes, on that note, I'm going to take off. Thank you all.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And then there were 3.
And then there were. All right.
I will bring a
So
little longer, only because
yes.
I know you guys said you're not watching this, so I feel like I have to speak on it on behalf of the show. So I'm not going to get super in depth about it, but because you guys can't talk back and forth with me about it. But I guess between the Leave the World Behind and this, it just kind of taught me, like, hey, you know what? Everybody's gonna have their own opinions on things, and I went into this movie thinking it was gonna suck, and I didn't think it sucked. I mean, I did really like it. So now I just am gonna have like a new take on movies and realize that I'm going to decide what I like and don't like. I mean, there's movies that they say they're fantastic and I hate. So
To
that
be
just
fair,
goes to show me that I need to give everything a shot if I think it's something I might enjoy.
it seems like the world at large is on your side. So looking this up on Rotten Tomatoes, critics gave it an 80. It's an 84% from the critics, 90% from the audience.
Okay.
So it's
I
actually
didn't
doing.
look anything up.
Yeah.
I just remember a lot of complaining leading up to it, and complaining in my own household too, from my teen and my husband. And
for me, I've only seen limited trailers, so I don't think we said it. So if this is the audio and you don't see what's behind Jen's head, we're talking about Wonka.
yes, sorry, I
starring
left that part out.
Timothy Chalamet and what's his British face?
Now you're talking the
Oh,
guy.
Hugh Grant?
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go, Hugh Grant, that handsome son of a gun.
Oompa Loompa style.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've only seen a handful of trailers. I am not the biggest Timothy Chalamet fan. Nothing against the kid, but I haven't seen anything of his that blows me away. He seems to do a lot of indie films, and I think he's built a reputation for himself that I haven't seen anything that I felt like he entirely deserves. Like, I don't think he was the best part of Dune, even though he was the star of Dune. Like, I think the world of Dune is the star of Dune, to be fair. But yeah, it's hard for me to get into a movie with him in it because I just look at him and I'm like, I don't
Not
like
buying it.
I don't like you. Get off my lawn. And I probably do like him. Like, if I watch enough stuff, I probably will. He has actually been the one complaint that I've seen across the board, is that he's not quite as charismatic as he probably should be for Wonka, and that's tough. Like, that's a tough sell, because you're talking about
Wilder.
Gene Wilder and you're talking about Johnny Depp, right? Like, you're talking about two people that are very charismatic and very energetic and chew up a screen, and that's a hard thing to live up to. So I can see why maybe he's taken some flack for that. Did you like him in it?
No. I mean, I don't necessarily have anything against him. That's why my husband wouldn't go, because he's just not a fan of his. And I was rooting for him. I was hoping that, he could pull it off, but there's some really good characters for the rest of the movie. And God, they just outshined him. Like, they really did. Like, I just feel like what you're saying, he wasn't like kooky enough, and he wasn't, I don't think his voice was strong enough, to be honest. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like you're cringing. But
Is there
it
a lot
just
of music in this? A lot of singing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I don't know why, but I was like, oh, is this a musical? Like, I was just like kind of caught off guard with it, and I thought about it. I'm like, of course there's going to be singing in here. There is in every movie, or every Wonka movie. But yeah, I just felt like there was just so many other characters that did a really good job, and they were just so, like, just more theater, much more theater in them. And he just didn't have that to him. It's not like a theater actor, and this movie like needed that. But he did okay. Like, it was fine. There's just some really, like, there's these other like 3 chocolatiers that let me back up. So this is a prequel.
Mhm.
And so, okay, are you going to bed? Come on, good night.
Aw.
Sorry. Nobody's parenting you right now. So it basically tells the story of how he started out. And so his mom was actually like a chocolatier. I don't know exactly, but she's the one who started him, on the chocolate making. And so basically it ends up just being, how he gets to try to build his business and whatnot. But what happens is there's these 3 other chocolatiers that he is in. One of them, Slugworth, which is in every Wonka movie. And so they do everything they can to like keep him out of business and not be able to start up. And then there's a whole other kind of part of it where he gets, I'm not going to say kidnapped, but like in a way he gets like taken over by this. He just has a lot stacked against him. I'll just say that. But what was my point? Anyway, the chocolatiers, the 3 chocolatiers that are against him, they're awesome. Like, they're just silly, and they each have their own vibe as a character, and they were just really funny together. I just really enjoyed those 3. So then having him, I was like, I just felt disappointed. Hugh Grant was really funny and awesome as an Oompa Loompa. You also learn where the Oompa Loompas came from. I liked that they had little glimpses of the old Wonka, or I mean, sorry, I guess after Wonka, like just the little like flutes, like I don't even can't do it, but you know what I mean? Like there was little glimpses of music and the flutes and that thing that kind of brought it together. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was really cute. I thought it was really whimsical. It was fun to go watch with my 9-year-old. And that, yeah, I do wish that Wonka was played better or by somebody different. I hate to say it, but I feel like there was enough of the other characters and the whole story together that was really good, that I think it is worth a watch. I'm not saying you have to watch it in the theater, but maybe Andrew, maybe not you, who's just going to be a Timothy hater, but well, actually, shit, you don't like musicals.
No, but I did like Spirited.
Okay, I was going to say, if you like Spirit,
I might like
this.
Yeah.
Like Wonka. It might, I could see you liking this if you like Spirit.
Yeah.
Does
like,
this?
Oh, go.
I was just gonna say, does this feel like more like a prequel to the Wilder movie or the Depp movies? If you had to guess, it's probably not to either technically, but
I mean, oh gosh, that's hard. I mean, I guess the Wilder, I think, like the original. I'm guessing. I mean, I feel like both those movies had a very similar. Those were like the same movie.
Yeah.
This is not. It's what happened all before. As a young man. But yeah, I thought it was cute. It was really cute.
Yeah, I like stories that detail a climb of some sort, some challenge being overcome. So if this is a movie where he's not like that dude yet and he's actually trying to become that dude,
yes,
then that's something that would resonate with me. Totally random, and again, I've not seen The Bear, but do you think Jeremy Allen White could could pull off playing Wonka beyond just the kind of the physical resemblance to Gene Wilder?
I saw like the memes and things going, or I don't know what it was, but I saw that whole like scenario of people thinking that. I mean, damn, he would be such a good.
Physically, he'd be perfect.
Yeah, but I don't know. He's so like more like harsh and gruff, so I don't know that he could have pulled it off.
Yeah, I'd have to see him in a straight comedy. Like I don't know that he has that over the topness in him. He is like the brooding and grumpy and gruff character.
Exactly. And like Gene Wilder, like he was just really like sarcastic in a way, and there was like I didn't get that vibe from him at all. Like that's why I was having a hard time. I was like, I just can't see. We know what happens later, so it's like I wasn't seeing him as a young version of Gene Wilder.
Right.
Beyond the looks, like okay, I can get past that, but just like the voice, everything, it just wasn't. It wasn't me seeing him, turn into that. That's what I think the challenge was.
And I know it's un-American of me to say this, but like I've tried watching Willy Wonka and I didn't get very far, but not because I didn't like it. It just didn't come back to it. But apparently there is some scene in the movie where someone's drowning in a river or whatever. River, and people say like, in a way, like you almost expect him to let her drown. So I feel like if Jeremy Allen White is a kind of a dark, brooding character, then maybe that could work to have that darkness there. If there was even a little bit of that darkness in the original, But yeah, no, I'm intrigued enough to where I'll probably check it out when it comes.
I might actually watch it when it streams, even though I'm wasn't initially interested in it. Like to know that the other characters are interesting makes it more interesting to me. And knowing that I am probably not going to be blown away by Timothée Chalamet, which is what I already felt. Like knowing that is true, I can accept that and start watching it. I have that same thought about something else I watched today that I'll talk about in a little bit. But if sometimes setting the right expectations for yourself going into a movie changes the way that movie feels to you. If you go in with too high of expectations, you'd be like, this movie sucked. If you go in with which one?
Blue Beetle.
Oh,
for you.
Oh, why?
Sorry.
I mean, Don't do me dirty, man. But yeah, I think if you go in
Apprehensive.
well, and just knowing that X, Y, and Z are things that you have to be ready for. It really does kind of change the tone of a movie. Like when my family watched Moonfall, I knew from the trailers that movie was dumb as shit, and so I watched it. We were making fun of it from the jump, and we loved it the entire time. It was like with me and my boys, it was like an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Like we were just mocking it, and it was a great time. If I had gone in and thought maybe it was going to be a good movie, I'd have been pissed. Like,
Yeah.
like
And
I'd have
that's
been
how I
so
went
mad.
into this. I went into it thinking I'm not gonna like this, and I was like, well, I'm liking this. Plus it just like the little magic, like his little chocolate kitty opens, and just like the magic of all that stuff was really fun and cute to see. So I don't know, I thought it was like good that it was like at this time of year, like at Christmas, even though it's not like a Christmas movie, but just felt right for the time. And I would like you guys to watch it because I would be interested to see if you guys could tolerate it or not.
Well, I think now, if I had magic powers, I would be transforming into Lenny Kravitz, and then I'd pull out a guitar and I'd start singing, "It's time to fly away." Wait, I want to fly away. So I'm just saying, same thing, Jen. I know that,
You're kicking me out.
I'm not kicking you out. We're
He's
just
I
playing
making.
mean,
you
I
off.
asked you to kick me out,
He's
so
playing you off. This is an award show right now. He's like,
people are
please,
like, "What
please
the
wrap
hell,
it up.
Lenny Kravitz?"
Wrap it up.
Sorry.
Boy. Yeah. Welcome to karaoke night on the All Popular Culture Podcast.
Okay, so yep, I went over Wonka and we talked about Leave the World Behind, and it's time for me to sign
All
off
right.
and do things and go to sleep.
All right. Go be an adult and stuff. Sounds
Yeah.
totally lame. So have a lame night, I guess.
I know I will. Okay. Okay. Good night.
All right. Bye.
Good night. And then there were two.
That's right. Without female supervision, who knows what will happen?
Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah, to be fair, I think you've got the most catching up to do. So you've got a lot of stuff. So
Yeah,
where do
I
you want to
feel like
start?
it's a bit of a lightning round, as a matter of fact. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about what I've just seen, but then I also want to spend a lot of time on Godzilla. So
Oh yeah.
we're going to do the lightning round first, and then we're going to take a little break, like a minute break, and then Godzilla time. And I want to give you a chance to talk too, obviously. So really quickly, just want to say that I finally caught up on the Fall of the House of Usher. And I know that dude, yes, that was so good. I'm actually with you, Kev. I do think I liked Midnight Mass better, but but House of Usher had such amazing performances, and I have to say that Mary McDonnell, she also had an amazing speech towards the end about how, yes, like she's not like an angel or a saint, but it's really not about just them. It's so much bigger than them, and so we're the bad guys. It was really cool. I just think that anyone who hasn't seen Fall of the House of Usher, people aren't exaggerating. It is such an amazing show, such a great character study of like what happens. Like karma is a bitch, and it will come and get you. And I think the performances are great. So just that's my lightning round piece there. I also recently finished Gen V, and I'm not gonna lie, Gen V, I had to kind of force myself to get into it. And I don't know if it's a generational thing, like I'm too old, and they're all like, like millennials or really kind of Gen Z-ish in a way.
Yeah.
Like they're really young. So for me, it's like I wasn't really into it per se, but I just kept plodding along. And then finally, towards the later episodes, then I was finally in. And I think it might have had to do with the fact that Victoria Newman showed up, and I'm sorry, she's gorgeous. So I just like every time she's on the screen, I'm like looking at her. It was a cool revelation to see the connection between Victoria and one of the main characters of Gen V. Like I didn't see it coming, but then when I saw the bond, I'm like, oh shit. In that case, she's like, yo, she's badass. Like she is more powerful than anyone realized, which is amazing. Even seeing I feel like, can I be spoilerish or not?
I'd say
Anyway,
yes. It's been out for a
okay,
while
cool.
now. Yeah.
Like Homelander showing up at the end, like what? Like, and then he just does like, oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna rant for a second. So this is kind of serious and sociological, but like mental illness, I'm sorry. Like, I personally think that if you're someone that's super mentally ill, they should not be just out roaming around in the free world. I think it never goes well. You need to be like kind of protected, because what happened is Homeboy gets out there, they free like all the people like as part of the woods, and a massacre goes down. I have to say, the PR lady, the redhead,
Mhm.
hilarious. I love her now. She went from this kind of almost hapless victim type person in the first couple seasons to now she's a straight up reptilian, cold, but hilarious character. I love her. And I love the fact that even her and that drama teacher apparently had a thing. Like, that was, yeah. The show, by the end of it, I was like sad it was over. I was like, and then the way it ended, like, and even though you kind of spoiled it for me, it was still a great ending, because I was like, how the hell does, mind control girl and psycho boy end up being heroes when they were the ones who were killing everybody? This is crazy. But it's so in line with the boys. So I'm ready for the boys season 3 or
No, 4, I think.
4, season 4. I'm ready for that to come back. I'm ready. It was great.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely led into it very well. I think the way that, and I think they've already said season 4 will pick up right after this, which was kind of impressive because the Gen V picks up after season 3, but like right after, like it's all tied in pretty
Yes.
closely. So it's a nice nice running timeline of stuff there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did enjoy that show, and I loved the ending. I was like, damn, that was wild.
Yeah. Super wild. I was very happy with it. Let's ping pong a little bit, because I feel like I've been talking a lot. Did you want to talk about anything you've seen?
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, there's a few things. Number one, I think we may or may not do a Christmas show. I'm still not sure on that yet. So just really quick, there were 3 suggestions from Ari. So just in case we don't do a Christmas special, I don't really want to talk about these too much, but there were 3 recommended. Number 1 was Dashing Through the Snow, which is a new one with Lil Howery and um, the rapper, the one in the Fast and Furious movies,
Ludicrous?
Ludacris. There you go.
Yeah.
Then there was Candy Cane Lane with Eddie Murphy, and then to 8-Bit Christmas, which is not new, but you watched it with Neil Patrick Harris. For me, the order in which I liked these movies, I liked Dashing Through the Snow the most. I liked then it was Candy Cane Lane, or sorry, then it was 8-Bit Christmas, and then it was Candy Cane Lane. The biggest reason being, and hopefully we have an episode where we can really dive into this, but the real reason being is that the problem that I had with Eddie Murphy's, and the reason it's the third, is that it starts off with them already loving Christmas, and they don't really have a Christmas problem. They have sort of a family problem and whatever. It's not what it's not the issues you're supposed to overcome in a Christmas movie. Like, everybody's happy in the beginning, everybody's happy in the end. That's not quite how Christmas movies work. You need to have somebody should have no Christmas spirit. They're supposed to, there's certain things that are supposed to happen in a Christmas movie. Whereas with Dashing Through the Snow, Ludacris legitimately hates Christmas, like hates Christmas. And so when he finds Lil Howery, Howery is like, "Hey, I'm Santa Claus," and he's like, "The fuck you are." And then there's like this whole adventure that they go on that I thought was a lot of fun. And with 8-Bit Christmas, it's more about just kind of teaching his daughter the meaning of family and Christmas, but she's kind of a downer, right? Like, she just wants things. She's very materialistic. And so he tells the story, which I did tell you I was going to tell. So I have an 8-Bit Christmas story. And it's short and sweet, but to this day, it makes me laugh. When I was whatever age that was, so 88, 87, so 10 or 11, somewhere in there, the Nintendo Entertainment System was just out. I wanted one for Christmas. I told my parents I wanted one for Christmas. I asked for it. My parents said, we have as much chance of getting a Nintendo as we do of getting a VCR. Those were their exact words. I remember these words to this day. And so, being the rotten child that I was, one time when my parents were out of the house, I was sneaking around looking under things for toys and gifts and things like that because I was a kid. And I look under the bed in the extra bedroom, and under there was a VCR. So, in my brain, doing the math, my parents said we have as much chance of getting a Nintendo as we do of getting a VCR. There's a VCR. That tells me I'm getting a Nintendo. Cool. So we go Christmas Day. I'm opening presents. I can't let them know that I know that we're getting the VCR, so I can't, do the math. But I opened it up. I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Where's the Nintendo?" So nothing. So I was very disappointed. I don't know what else I got that Christmas. Like, I can't tell you what I got at all. I just know that I did not get a Nintendo. So the nice thing is that my birthday is about a month later, and I saved up my Christmas money and my birthday money. I went and bought it for myself for my birthday afterwards. So there's a happy-ish ending to the story, but I cannot express to you how pissed I was that I got a VCR, not a Nintendo, on Christmas of 87 or 88.
That is amazing. That's awesome. Word. All right. Well, another a film that I saw it was just last weekend. It was just a week ago. Crazy. I saw Godzilla Minus One in the theaters. My love for Godzilla goes back literally to like my earliest childhood memories. Like, I loved Godzilla to the point where I actually made up my own monster named Calabipus, who was even bigger than Godzilla, and like they would get in fights and shit. But like, anyway, that's how much I like kaiju before I even knew the word kaiju, like as a child. Anyway, Godzilla films have been kind of like that, just like Superman or whatever. Like, I've been chasing the dragon. I've always wanted something that exhilarated me as much as when I first saw Godzilla in 1985 as a kid. And every Godzilla film, except for actually the 19 film, King of the Monsters, that one actually satisfied my Jones. I was like, that's the Godzilla I'm talking about. You're fighting Ghidorah, you're fighting Rodan, like you're the G, right? But this film, and I did see the original 1954 film, which is really cool as well.
Yeah.
This film is like basically, I think, the best Godzilla film that's ever been made, because it really goes back to the original Godzilla being this metaphor for like what happens when humanity messes with nuclear power, mutates nature, and now it's come back to like basically be this unstoppable force. It's almost like related to Oppenheimer in a way, in that it's unleashing the beast. But it's more than that. It's also a very compelling human story. Can I go into the plot? Like,
Yeah,
is that
definitely.
cool? All right, cool. So basically, the movie takes place towards the end of World War II. The main character is a kamikaze pilot, okay? But the fact that he's still alive kind of tells you everything you need to know. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to die for his country. He fakes a engine malfunction, land on this random island in the Pacific. One of the mechanics there is like, yo, you're a coward. Like, you had one job, die for your country. What the hell? Whatever. Then in the middle of the night, this like dinosaur thing shows up. It's a Godzilla, but he's like smaller and faster. And he starts like ripping shit apart. And the soldiers are like, yo, like your plane's guns can take this thing out. Go do it, but he's scared. And in my head, I'm like maybe shooting at this thing might make it matter. He says that, but he gets in the plane, but then he freezes. He does not use the guns. Then the other soldiers freak out, start shooting at it, and Godzilla fucks them all up. Like it's like a horror movie. He's biting them in half. He's like tearing, like it's crazy. But somehow the soldier like is knocked unconscious, whatever. A year later, oh, and then by the way, the mechanic's like, fuck you, like you caused all these people to die. So he's guilty now. Goes to Tokyo or Ginza, whatever, and the whole city is bombed. And he is like outcast because like, yo, like you're still alive, but all these people are dead because you couldn't do your job. It was the shame, if you will, of World War II ending. But as the movie progresses, then of course the US Pacific Ocean, it shows Godzilla like and basically that's what shows like it's a bomb testing. He mutates, becomes big, and he just starts fucking up Japan. Meanwhile, really quick, I'll almost be done with this in a second. Meanwhile, Homeboy, the kamikaze pilot, runs into this woman thief who's carrying, and then she's running. And then when she bumps into him, she throws him a baby and then keeps running. Okay, so now he has this baby. She has no idea what to do with the baby. But then they eventually meet up again, and she's like, "I just needed you to take care of the baby. It's not my kid, and I'm orphaned too." And they became a little makeshift family. He joins a boat that's basically designed to like find mines in the ocean, and then that's where, of course, Godzilla shows up. At the end of the day, what I see Godzilla as a metaphor for, in a way, is not only is he a metaphor for nuclear power, in a way, he's also a metaphor for the US. And I'll tell you why. Because the kamikaze pilot is distant from the woman and her kid because he's fighting his war. He's fighting his shame of not of Japan's loss to the US and his shame for not dying as a kamikaze pilot. And Godzilla even showed up like in the Pacific, eating all these soldiers. And he was afraid to fire upon him because it's only going to make him mad. I think in a lot of ways, like when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, that was in a way kind of like unleashing the beast and Godzilla showing up. Because when they nuked Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like that's a big deal. It destroys those cities. And when Godzilla fires his like heat ray, it's like a straight up mushroom cloud, like in this movie that happens. So eventually they do they do take care of him, but they had to take care of him not by having a really fucked up philosophy on life and saying you need to die for your country. It was more about we need to come together and win so that we can live. It was more about the importance of life and how the government of Japan basically is the reason that they lost the war. But even when they fight Godzilla in this movie, it's not the government fighting, it's the people themselves, not the government. So I will just say really quickly, as I get mad self-conscious on this podcast, that I don't know if I did the best job of like selling the damn movie, but I will say that it's so much more than just monsters like fighting each other like Kong versus Godzilla. It really was more about Godzilla being this really scary, menacing beast that was terrorizing Japan, that made Japan its own territory, and the people had to come together and fight. Very, very anime-ish, very, very reminiscent of the original film, even down to the score and the music for Godzilla. So that was my impassioned attempt at talking about how dope it was.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to see it. If I had a little more time and a little more money, I might actually try and drag my kids out to see it, but I don't have time or money. So hopefully it'll be streaming soon. In that regard, I'd probably be willing to rent it instead of just waiting for it to be free. So I'll keep that in mind for when it drops, because I am super excited about it, but I just don't have really the opportunity to watch it until it's streaming somewhere.
Yeah. And one thing I'll also say really quick is I didn't really, even though I talked a little bit about the plot and the setup, I didn't really talk about like what happens or even how it ends. So I feel like I did a good job of at least leaving that open, because there is a lot of plot, a lot of plot. And obviously it's in subtitles, so you have to be kind of patient. I don't think it was like nonstop action. I don't think it was like boring either. It's just, in my opinion, kind of perfectly paced, slightly on the slow side at times. But I think it was really more about just, again, this one kamikaze pilot's internal battle with his own shame and how Godzilla represented that shame. And at the end of the day, it was really about the battle was between him and Godzilla, and then about Japan and its relationship to war.
Yeah, I think that is kind of the explanation for it that I've been seeing. So I'm excited for it. Yeah.
The only other thing that I've seen really quick, unless you want to jump back in, is I did finally also watch this Netflix series called How to Become a Mob Leader, or How to Become a Mob Boss. And, you know, like the other two, I would say that it was definitely worth the watch. I enjoyed it very much. I am trying to find my notes so I can talk intelligently about it. And of course, I can't find it right now. So I'll just go off of memory. No, I'm not. Yes, I
Here,
am. No, I'm
find
not.
find your notes and I'll go for a second. So I've got two things that I've been watching. I'm not finished with either one, but I've been entertained by both of them. Number one, on Netflix, there's a show called Obliterated.
Yes.
And it's not the most brilliant show ever made. And it could probably stand to be a little more sticky with its comedy just because of what it is, but it's fun, and it kind of reminds me of the same kind of fun as that Schwarzenegger show that came out. I forget what that one was called, but anyways, the gist of this show is that there's this elite team of um, spies or whatever it is they are, right? So they're out there to bust this arms trader who has a nuke in Las Vegas. Funny enough, and so the opening scene of the first episode is them basically taking this down and showing just how badass they are. Like, they take this guy down. They're the whole unit. They kick a bunch of ass. They lock the guy up. Everything's great. They get a call from like their boss, and he's like, they start to go their separate ways, and everybody except the main girl. There's one girl that's really uptight, and she's in charge, and she she wants to get right back to work or get on another mission or whatever. Everybody else is like, cool, we just saved this city. We're in Vegas already. We want to have a little fun. And she gets the call from her boss, and her boss is like, great job on the mission. Take a fucking break. Like, he literally tells her to take a break. So she decides to go party with her team. So everybody goes out and gets obliterated. They're doing drugs, they're drinking, they're partying like, crazy people. And halfway through the party, they get a call from their boss, and he's like, yo, problem's not solved. He's like, there. And so this is where their egos get in the way, and they're like, well, nobody else can handle this problem. We're the best, there is. Even messed up, we're the best. And so now the rest of the show is them handling the situation while they're all fucked up. And like I said, it's not as over the top and sticky as it could be. And I think maybe it almost should be. Like, it's fun, it's entertaining, but it could be funnier. But it works, and it is fun, and the characters and the cast is solid. One of the girls, there's a Latino girl, she was in she was in the regular Walking Dead. Near the end, there's the kind of main super badass dude was on one of the CW shows, Legends of Tomorrow. And I liked him a lot on there. I may have liked him more on there than I did in this so far, but I do like him in this. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then in a similar vein, I'm halfway through the new Mark Wahlberg movie that dropped on Apple TV, The Family Plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is just kind of okay too. It's not bad. It's fun if you take it for what it is. It's weird because it walks this line between this family road trip movie and an over-the-top action movie. And the gist of this story is that he is a former spy, just trying to live his family life under the radar. doesn't want anybody to know who he is. His wife doesn't know who he is. His kids don't know who he is. So he's built this life with them. Like his kids are teenagers, so he's been out of the business for a while, but he doesn't have social media, doesn't let his picture show up on social media or anything like that. And then of course, through things happening, his face does end up on social media, and then he's got to take his family on the run without them even knowing who he is yet. Right. So it's like, oh, let's go to Vegas. And his reason for taking them to Vegas is to pick up some fake IDs and get out of town, but they still don't know who he is. And so, the first, I'm a little more than halfway through, and I think I'm about to the point where the action part of it's really going to take off. They finished the road trip part. They're in Vegas. Everybody's kind of doing their Vegas thing, and the bad guys have shown up at this point, and now he's in a position where he has to tell his wife. Or he doesn't even have to tell her. She knows now that like there's been a gun battle in her home. And so it, like I said, there's action. It's fun. It's not bad. I think it is what it is. Like we talked about earlier, if you go in with the right expectations, it's a fun movie. It's not so bad that you're openly mocking it the whole time. So it's not quite, we're not on Moonfall level, but it was pretty good. It's pretty good so far. So I'll finish that hopefully soon, and go from there.
So it's just a coincidence that both things happen to be in Vegas, I guess, or like,
Yeah.
fascinating. That'll definitely get me interested. I appreciate you saving me, as I completely like was trying to find my damn notes. So not Vegas oriented, but sort of action oriented and true story-ish. I did of course watch the How to Become a Mob Boss, which is the third in the Netflix series that Peter Dinklage is involved with, which the first one was How to Become a Cult Leader, second one was How to Become a Dictator, and now we've got Mob Bosses. So same approach, satirical, 6 episodes. The first one always tends to be the most famous person. So of course it was the original gangster himself, Al Capone. And the first lesson, of course, is to land your dream job. So Al, really quick, I didn't know he was born in Brooklyn, but he basically worked his way up from son of a shoe shine. No, he was a shoe shine boy, son of a barber, and ended up basically working his way up into the Chicago machine and becoming the first real kind of mob boss during Prohibition. So that was interesting for sure. One thing I learned from him is don't cross the IRS because that's how they got him, tax evasion. So that was interesting. The second one was build a better operation. And this is a guy named Frank Lucas. Ironically, that was also a film, Original Gangster, that what's his name made, Ridley Scott, starring Denzel Washington and the guy who was in Gladiator, the Australian, I forget his, Russell Crowe. So anyway, how Frank Lucas came to power was it was heroin in the 70s, and he basically was able to cut out the French Connection and control the pipeline of heroin from the jungles of Asia to the US. And their drug was called Blue Magic, and it was a better purity. And I think that's probably helped influence Breaking Bad. The third one was dominate through terror. And he was scary. It's this guy named Salvatore Toto Rina. And this guy was he was a mafia dude in Italy, and he was responsible for like hundreds of people. Like he was a ruthless killer. Like that guy is scary, and he was old, and like he lived a long time. But when you see some of these people, you're like, they could be like your grandpa, like in terms of like, or someone's grandpa, and they're like, this motherfucker is like killing motherfuckers. It's crazy, right? The fourth one is Don't Go Rogue, John Gotti. And basically, John Gotti was just too flamboyant and flashy. And, he just kind of, through his own indiscretion, sunk his own ship. And people just, he did himself in, really. Play the long game. That was Whitey Bulger out of Boston. And that one was cool because he literally, after he like was responsible for rising up into the top of the underworld in Boston, then he was on the lam in San Diego with his wife for like 16 years before he was caught. And as I'm watching his story, I'm like, this seems a lot like The Departed. And sure enough, even though The Departed was originally a Japanese or I think an Asian film, they did base those characters on, Whitey Bulger in terms of like the guy who has someone on the inside, the FBI, like tipping him off to everything. And
There's
then
another Whitey Bulger movie. Wasn't there one with Johnny Depp?
you might be talking about shoot. Oh my God, I know what you're talking about, dude. Um, shoot.
Black
Yeah.
Mass.
Okay, actually, okay, actually, I thought you were thinking. I think you're talking about another movie, but either way, yeah, Whitey Bulger is like, yeah, he was also pretty ruthless. And then finally, break the mold, and that was Pablo Escobar, out of Colombia, and he basically was super, super like he rich, like billions, totally ran Colombia for a while, but eventually was killed by the army. So none of these dudes, I think, had like a good happy ending, unlike the cult leader one. At least that one guy did, but no one won. So I think that this show does not have the same impact as the others. Like, there's no part of me that is remotely tempted to become a mob boss ever. Like, why would you do that? Like, you do that when you have no other options, and even then, it's like, really, like, do you want to be responsible for the deaths of like hundreds of people because you're an asshole and you just want like notoriety? Like, stop it. Your reigns last maybe 6, 7 years, maybe if you're lucky. Nah,
And there's always somebody gunning for you.
always. You always have to watch your back. It's not, no, I would hate that life. But it was a quick watch. Like, each episode was only like 30 minutes about. So I was able to get that through that pretty quickly. Just wanted to share that for those people who might want to, find something quick to watch. It's easy and digestible. But the last thing I'll say on this, I think, rather short, but at the same time, very jam-packed episode as far as content's concerned, I think, is that Blue Eye Samurai. I started episode 1. Each episode is an hour, but I will say that all the hype, again, is worth it. It had been greenlit for season 2, but I'm going to finish it. The fight scenes were incredible, and the animation is really good. It is adult, like, it is definitely not for the
Very
kiddos.
adult. Yeah.
Like, but even the last scene of season 1 where the guy's like, peaches, like, I was like, that was a cool little. I wasn't expecting that, just keeping it real, but I didn't mind. Anyway, I liked it. It's a good show, and I'm already all into the main character. I think that the voice acting is solid,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. It's incredible. The longer it goes, the more you get into it, you're just gonna get sucked in. I think I started watching it with my kids, and about 20 minutes in, I was like, nope, nope, nope. I could deal with the violence, I could deal
Yes.
with a lot of stuff, but my kids are just at the age where if they see a boob at the same time I see a boob, they're like, like everything's wrong. I don't, whereas, and this is my youngest and my oldest. My middle one, I don't think he would care. Like, that kid's girl crazy. He got his haircut today, and it was kind of the haircut was maybe a little questionable or whatever, but he came out of there and he's like, yeah, but the girl that cut my hair was hot. I was like, I guess you got to let her do whatever she wants, right?
Priority.
To be
Yes.
fair, she was very cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very cute. Um, but yeah, it is a very adult show. Like, it's not there are boobs, there is sex, like there's actual sex later on. Like, it does not pull any punches. It very easily could have been an R-rated live action TV
Yeah.
show, and probably been okay. But I think it actually benefits from anime, or from being animated, and it's pretty good. So I'm excited for you to watch that one. And I don't think I have anything else. The other thing that I have, or that I'm curious about, is we've talked about it in the chat, but what are you gonna do about Rebel Moon?
I think I will watch it. I think I will watch it. I'm also going to finish Invincible as well, even though I know
Oh
it's
yeah,
hiatus. But he started, and so far so good. But no, I will watch it. I have to see, like, like the carnage, because apparently it's getting savaged.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a for me it's a good mid-season finale. Like where it ends, waiting for the hiatus to end for it to come back. Oh no, sorry, I'm talking about
Invincible. But Rebel
Invincible.
Moon
You're
is
talking
getting
about Rebel
better.
Moon.
Yeah.
Yes, but funny enough, it's got a really high audience score.
Rebel
Uh,
Moon.
yeah, so it's a 23% from the critics, but a 72% from the audience.
Oh.
I'm really curious if these are people that have actually seen it, or if it's the Snyder fans that are. Yeah, because here's one, just another masterpiece, great cast, story, can't wait for the sequel. I'm like, okay. Was lucky enough to see it in theaters. Love every minute. Bring it on part two. It's not even out in theaters yet, I don't think. Oh
Yeah,
no, no, that's not
it
correct.
is.
It did come out in the theaters on the 15th. So um it's out there, but I feel like the people that loved it are just the Zack Snyder stands. Like, he has a following that love the things that he does. Um and other than The Watchmen, I'm not really one of those people. Like, I'm not a big Zack Snyder person. For me, there's too much slow motion, too much, uh, too much posturing, too much, you know, monologuing. And the reviews that I've seen of this are brutal. The critics' reviews are definitely brutal, but I read them and I'm like, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're on the same page in that, like, we both say style over substance with him, and I think that he needs, like, someone to actually, like, inject his shit with, like, substance. But I think his movies look good.
Mhm.
Now, as far as, like, Watchmen, for me, again, for anyone who hasn't heard me say this, you'll hear me say this. Only the director's cut, or the ultimate cut of Watchmen, I think, is really worth it.
Mhm.
Same thing with BVS, only the ultimate cut. I like BVS, I like Watchmen, and I like Man of Steel. They're the three that, to me, that are I actually will, like, defend.
Oh,
You
Man of
know,
Steel, I do like.
yeah.
I will go out on. I do like Man of Steel. I've always said though, the Watchmen, he had an advantage with the Watchmen in that he had nothing to do with writing it. Like, that content was 100% written before
Yeah,
he touched that movie. It was a well-known,
graphic novel.
yeah, and so I think, uh, yeah, it just he couldn't really, story-wise, he couldn't screw that up. Editing-wise or anything else, he probably could have screwed it up, but couldn't screw up the story. And so, and that had to be done in a very specific way. Like, that story had to be told that way. Um, and so he had an advantage there.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna see Rebel Moon.
I'm
And
I'm
yeah.
gonna watch it. I'm probably not gonna subject my kids to it. I'm not gonna make anybody else watch it just when it drops on the 22nd, which is next Friday, right? Yeah, next Friday. When it drops next Friday, I'll probably watch it that night. Or at least try to.
Oh, it's not out yet?
It's in theaters now. It's not on Netflix.
Oh, shoot,
It's
my
not on
bad.
Netflix until next Friday.
Okay. Got it. Okay. All
So
right.
I actually wonder what the opening weekend box office was.
It's funny. I was basically debating whether or not I say anything, and I think I will, but I'm gonna, like, be very, like, touch and go with this. Speaking of movies that haven't come out yet, the one second, hold on a second. I want to make sure I get this title right. Uh Yeah, the American Society of Magical Negroes. That trailer, like the second trailer, just dropped yesterday. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna go too far into it, but when I saw the trailer, I was like, uh-oh. Like, uh-oh. Like I just uh-oh. And there are certain segments of Twitter that are also like, uh-oh. So basically, I just want to say, for the sake of representing as many perspectives as possible on APNC, because we do have some culture, baby. No. I think that movie is it's either going to be like celebrated or it's going to be a disaster of epic proportions. And I'm actually already thinking it's going to be a disaster just based on the trailer that I saw. So it reminds me, frankly, of like when C. Thomas Howell was in that movie Soul Man with Radon Chong. It was a disaster for him and the movie, and it was just not good. They were trying to do something, they were trying to say something, but it just didn't come off. And I think that this movie is it smells like the same thing. Like I think the intentions might have been well, but yeah, there. So I'm not gonna go into the reasons, but I just wanted to like make sure I'm keeping our show as relevant as possible and saying that like, yeah, dude, like this movie is coming out, there's buzz around it, but I think the buzz went from anticipatory to muddled.
Yeah, if done right because I haven't watched the second trailer yet, but from the teaser, if done right, it could be a lot of fun. Like it really could. You've got, was it David Allen Greer?
Yes.
And then the kid is Justice Smith
From Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, he's charismatic. Obviously, David Allen Greer is charismatic. And like there's potential there. Like the bones are there for something that can either go way off the rails and be like a Scary Movie 3 kind of thing where just absolutely should not have been made, or it could be what was the one that we watched with the dude from the Star Wars sequels, John Boyega? What was the one?
Oh, yeah. Shit. Fuck. Pardon my French. Hold on. Keep talking, but
that one was more dramatic than this movie is going to be.
they clone Tyrone.
Yeah, they clone
Yeah.
Tyrone. Now that was more dramatic than the. Now I'm not going to get the name right.
The American Society of
American Society of Magical Negroes. This is obviously going to be funnier than They Clone Tyrone. Like the goal is,
it's a rom-com, dude. Like when you see this trailer, it's a rom-com, and basically, like just what happens, basically, what makes it kind of iffy is it kind of fails a certain Bechdel test, but it's not like a gender Bechdel test. It's more of like a racial one, in that this character basically decides like he's assigned to basically make this white guy's life more comfortable, but he falls in love with the white guy's love interest, who almost happens to be white. So it's like it's this black guy going after this white girl, and like he's gonna be like betraying the American society because he's just gonna go after her despite this white guy's like. It's just fucking weird. It's fucking weird, dude. I'm like, what are you trying to do? And then as far as like David Allen Greer goes, like, dude, you did Man on Film. That is not aged well at all. You're completely making fun of gay people. So as far as David Allen Greer is concerned, nothing against you, homie, but I don't know, dude. Like I don't. Your comedy's not that smart, in my opinion. Like you're a legend, but like your claim to fame, really, besides Boomerang, is Man on Film, where you're making fun of gay people. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how untone deaf you are. So again, like I'm actually pretty proud now. We actually talked about it. We got into it a little bit. Would love your take when you see the second trailer, but I know, like, I'll just say it, keep it real. Like Black Twitter, yo, not feeling it. They're like, what?
All right. Yeah, that I mean,
so between and the name itself was already iffy. Like, yo, like,
to me, the name tells you that it's an over the top comedy.
right?
Like it has to be that, or it doesn't work.
Right.
And if you're gonna make it a rom com, then I'm like, that is concerning.
Yeah.
Like
Someone shared a Key and Peele skit, which was way better because that skit is hilarious. Because basically, it is like this white guy in a corporate office, and this old custodian comes in. He's like giving him all these like witticisms, like, well, the more garbage you have in your crayon, the better it feels when you dump it out. Like kind of that wisdom, kind of like, and then another
Yeah.
person comes in and does the same thing. And they actually get into a battle because they're like, you're going to be one of us, you find yourself another white guy, it was like, that was funny. But this, yeah, dude.
Hmm.
I
I gotta find that trailer now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe we should drop the trailer like when we do the show, we should just maybe drop the trailer. Fuck it. Oh, and then also I'm so sorry, I'm just like talking now. How cool is it that Kev on Stage, maybe we can tag his ass. How cool is it that Kev on Stage has joined the Society of Attack on Titan viewers? And I'm loving his enthusiasm.
yes. For anybody that doesn't know who this guy is, number one, he's a comedian and he's funny. So you should already like this guy. What's his name? Is Kevin? What's his last name?
Ah, damn it. He just actually said something too, but
Yeah,
I'll look it up. But
there
Kev on
there
Stage is just like his handle.
Yeah, you could find him as Kev on Stage, all Kev O-N
Kevin
stage.
Fredericks.
Kevin Fredericks. That's right. You can find him on Facebook, on Instagram. I don't know if he's on Twitter, but he posts stuff all the time. So he's got a bunch of funny posts. But if you like Attack on Titan at all, he is going through a few episodes at a time and then posting reactions to these. So number one, if you've already watched Attack on Titan, fun to watch. If you've never watched Attack on Titan, I would say it's actually a great way to say, watch a couple of episodes, then watch his take, then watch a couple of episodes, then watch his take. Because not only is he funny, and he is funny, there's some hilarious shit that he throws in there, but he's actually pretty insightful about the episodes.
Yeah.
Frustrated at times, as you should be when you watch them, because it is a confusing, mind-bending story. But if you've never watched it, honestly, like, it's a great time to watch along with somebody that's watching it for the first time also. And his posts are not long. We're talking 3 or 4 minutes. To be fair, the show is not long. You can eat up 2 or 3 episodes really quick of Attack on Titan. And so it's a lot of fun. I think if I can remember to tag him on this, I will. If I can get his link, his socials and stuff in the description, I will. But a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. Like, I Am Confusion, talking about Aaron, talking about like his arm bitten off. Like, like his yeah, it's so satisfying. It almost makes me like want to start watching Lost again, because I know that when we were actually, wow, it's crazy how it's 2 years ago now almost.
I know.
But like you were living, it was gratifying for you to see our reactions, and it's gratifying for me to just see his reactions to that stuff, because I do remember, like, he actually said straight up, like, Aaron can't be gone, but he's gone, and now I don't trust anything. Like, anyone can go. It was just like anyone can go. And it's like,
well, and that's the thing too. This isn't just, it's not just he's starting Attack on Titan, he's starting anime. He's never watched anime before. And so one of his things was, he's talking about it, and he's like, man, he's like, people told me I shouldn't have started with Attack on Titan. I should have started with like My Hero Academia or, something else. He's like, but I didn't listen. He's like, I didn't go for the foreplay. I just went straight for the sex.
Hilarious.
He's so funny. So definitely worth catching. Number one, catch all of his content. He's great, but it's worth catching his Attack on Titan content. And if you haven't watched, it's a great reason to start watching, so you can, mix your perspective with his when he's talking about it, because it's funny. It's good.
Amen.
So awesome. With that, I think we've said all we can possibly say for this week after having a couple weeks off. So with that, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And have a great week. And hopefully we'll have a Christmas episode next week. I'm not 100% sure. Otherwise, maybe just a regular episode, but we'll have some content next week. If nothing else, even if nobody else shows up, I'm sure I will have words about Rebel Moon. So there will be something next week. So with the way these things drop, whatever we record next week won't drop until after Christmas. So have a great Christmas or whichever holiday it is you celebrate if it's not Christmas, and we'll see you next time.
We love you.
I haven't gotten or caught on to the Kindle thing. I know the Kindle, like reading digitally and through Kindles and other formats have been around for a while, but I still like just a tangible book in my hand.
Well, if I had the money and the space, I'd have, Bell's library from Beauty and the Beast. I love books. The problem is the time to pick one up and hold one. And like Andrew said, I really only have time in bed, so I need that light from the screen. I also, with Kindle Unlimited, I added Comixology, so I have access to a boatload of comic books, which has been kind of nice too, because those are a different way to read. You can usually get through a few more pages because there's not a lot of dialogue per page. There's more to take in on a page because it's a visual style, but the written stuff is usually pretty short. And I read the comic that I've been wanting to read for like 2 years now, is The Last Ronin, which is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic. And then I read the Loki comic that's kind of related to the Loki TV series a little bit. So that was interesting to read too.
And so when you read it on Kindle, it's like colored and like
Oh yeah,
you get visual of it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. A lot of, especially the modern comics, they're all created digitally and scanned in before they're printed anyways. So when these organizations, DC and Marvel and the other publishers, they just put the digital copies up there and they come out great. They work really well too, because you can pinch and zoom and stuff in the comic book, right? So you can zoom in on the pictures if you want to read it better. Some comic books have like a 2-page spread, which is kind of cool, because then you can zoom in and slide around and read the different parts and stuff. It actually works really well. I just wish there was a little bit more on Comixology, because I know Marvel and DC themselves both have their own digital publishing service also. So if you sign up, I think it's Marvel Unlimited, but they have a ton of comics in their library. And DC, I think, has, you can read the first appearance of Superman, which is 1934, 31.
I thought it was 8 or 9, not to be a quibbler. I'm going to Google it.
Yeah, totally quibble, because I'm not even sure.
Hold on. Yeah, 1938.
1938. Yep. June 38. That's like, if I was ever rich and famous, that would still be my holy grail, is getting that first Action Comics. I think the last time it sold was for like 3 million, 4 million.
That's awesome. Yeah, he looks kind of scary though on that cover, where he's like smashing the Volkswagen, and there's people like running around like like they're all freaked out.
Well, it's because he wasn't quite as nice. Like, nobody was quite as nice back then. Like, Batman used guns when he first came up, like, but Superman couldn't fly. He could only jump. He was strong, but he was not as strong as he is now. So, he was a different character back then. And we have, in what 92 years, needed him to be stronger over time, and then it got ridiculous.
So you're saying he was like Old Testament God who was just like if you just piss him off, like turn you to a pillar of salt or just, you know, kill legions of people. Like he was a mean, jealous, angry God before he turned.
But I don't know that because he is different than a lot of comic book characters that even for decades after, because Siegel and Schuster were Jews in 1938.
Right.
They were American Jews, but they were Canadian, actually, I think.
Nice.
And so Superman was their Jewish, like
Wish fulfillment.
I don't, yeah. Well, it's Superman is Supermensch, right? Which is like this whole thing. But you know, they wanted a character that they basically had the ideals that they felt they had, but also have him be, you know, a force for good. And you know, you can't really hurt him. You can't really know. You know, they wanted him to be super, and so it's a cool character, especially back then. I need to see actually if Comixology has it, because I've always wanted to kind of start reading it from the beginning, which I would never catch up. There's no flipping way. Action Comics passed their 1000th issue, I think last year or the year before, and there may be a stretch of time where they stopped numbering them because they restarted at 0, and I think they picked back up with the right number. Like it was confusing. There's Jen. But I, like, in my basement, I have probably 300 Superman comics alone, and that's just the Superman. That's not the other stuff. So and that's only not, you know, a handful of years worth.